Commissioner McDowell, it's great to have you with us. You've been an FCC Commissioner since 2006. Talk to us about your agenda and your philosophy serving the FCC.
Well, I came to this job believing in markets. Markets are what create wealth, they create innovation, and really as a regulator I think we should be faithful to the law and to the facts, but look for those areas where there might be market failure and consumer harm that comes about as a result of that. And if we need to implement a rule, it should be narrowly tailored to address that market failure and hopefully sunsetted so that once the ill is cured, we can expire and we can move on. But other than that, you have to be very careful of regulation that's overreaching because what you never hear about, what you never see, is the idea that never came to market because of some government action. We never know about it. So you want to avoid that when all possible.
You've been one of the leaders outspoken about infrastructure deployment and making sure that all Americans are connected. The FCC just made a hallmark decision October 27th. Can you talk about that a little bit and your philosophy and engagement in that rulemaking on the Universal Service Fund?
Sure. So first of all, between 2003 and 2009, in America we went from 15% of Americans having access to broadband in 2003 to, by the end of 2009, that going up to into the 90s. So it really skyrocketed, not because of any government program, but because of the private sector and innovation and consumer demand and letting consumers and broadband providers act in a free market. So that's actually phenomenal growth. That is, broadband has been the fastest penetrating technology probably in the history of mankind in terms of any disruptive type of technology. But if we're at 95, some statistics say 96% broadband penetration, meaning 96% of the country has access to it, what about the remaining 4%? And that is what the FCC tried to do on October 27th. So we are mandated by Congress to have the subsidy program, which we call Universal Service, and overall it's about an $8 billion fund, but $4.5 billion is dedicated for rural areas that may not have broadband. So we repurposed it, changed it from supporting creaky old analog voice service to new broadband service, and there'll be a transition period in over 5 years. So one of the things that I thought was great about it, it modernized the fund, as Congress wanted us to do back in 1996, and we capped the fund. It will not grow at least through 2017 when the Commission will have to look at it again, and we injected some market incentives such as competitive bidding or reverse auctions, and that should help keep prices down or even drive them lower than they are today. So that'll save essentially the taxpayers money. This isn't a subsidy that comes out of the U.S. Treasury. It's one type of consumer subsidizing another type of consumer, usually urban and suburban consumers subsidizing rural consumers. So hopefully it'll keep rates lower for them. So it's not a perfect order. There's some things in there that I don't necessarily agree with, but it was a compromise document, and I got out of it what I wanted to for the most part.